Hello, my yarn smithing lovelies, yet again. Welcome to my studio here in central UK. If you haven't seen me before, I'm Simon Henry, and this is where we gather to talk all things yarn and yarn craft related. So, a couple of videos ago, I did promise that I would show people how to knit. I always do these videos on the assumption that people are watching them who know already how to knit and crochet and do all the other yarn craft things. Since we've just had a television programme here in the UK, which is a game show based on yarn craft called Game of Wool, I've had so many people say, would I show them how to knit? So your wish is my command. And this is really for people who've never picked up a pair of knitting needles or a ball of yarn, who really want to have a go. So I'm going to see you over at the desk, have a little look at it, see what you think. Let me know in the comments. I'll see you when we're done. So knitting is one of those crafts that needs next to nothing to do it. You don't need lots of equipment, and you don't need to spend a huge amount of money. Basically, all you need is a ball of yarn and a set of knitting needles. That's it. You don't need anything else at all. When you really get into the craft, there are lots of other little accessories and things you can buy, and the thing that you can buy lots of is yarn. Us yarn smithing types have massive stashes that eventually we will get round to using, I promise. So what you're going to need to start with is a ball of yarn. So go online, go to your local craft shop or yarn shop, and what you're looking for to start with, you don't want anything too fine and you don't want anything too thick. So if it says Aran weight, or if it says yarn weight number 4, that's probably about the best one that you can learn on. An awful lot of people suggest you learn on massive needles with great big thick yarn, but then the problem is you've got to learn to kind of come down. This is kind of bang in the middle of anything that you're likely to use, so it's a really good one to start with. So when you buy the yarn, you'll find on the yarn label it will say somewhere on there what size needles that it recommends, and buy the needles that it recommends on the ball band. And in this case, with this yarn that I'm using, it says 5.5 needles, or in the USA that equates to a number 9. Now you'll see these needles are a little bit odd because they're square. I've only just discovered these, and I've found that square needles are much easier to use, and especially I think for beginners, I think this is going to be a really good idea for you to have a look for some square needles. It's not vitally important, but they're just easier to hold and easier to get on with. So in knitting, you don't have to learn very many things because it's all basically the same thing that we're just going to do in different ways to produce different textures and different patterns. So the first thing we need to learn is how to cast on, and that means casting on the amount of stitches we're going to need for that particular pattern onto the needles. Then we're going to learn the knit stitch, then we're going to learn the purl stitch, and then we're going to learn cast off. Those 4 things is all you need to actually get you started. Eventually we'll go on to shaping that knitting by increasing or decreasing, and we'll do patterns by mixing the purl stitches and the knit stitches. But to start with, we're just going to cast on and practice the knit stitch. It's really easy. So first of all, controlling your yarn. If I can, always pull the yarn from the center of the ball, and then it means this ball isn't flying around all over everywhere and getting tangled up or getting run off with by the cat. So reach into the center of the yarn here and just give it a little pull, and more often than not, that was quite an easy one, more often than not the yarn will come out of the middle of the ball, and you can see I can just pull it very easily from the center without this ball flying around all over the place. So the first thing we're going to do is learn to cast on. So what we need to do first is to make a slip stitch. So we're just going to, I'll show you that again. What we're going to do is grab the yarn and just twist it so it makes a loop, and then this long bit of yarn here that's connected to the ball, just push that up through the center of that loop and then pull, and then you've got literally your first stitch, and we're going to put that on to the needle, and we're going to hold that needle in your left hand. The majority of people are right-handed, so I'm doing this for right-handeds. If you are left-handed, we're not going to leave you out. If you go to your screen settings and video settings when you're playing this back, just flip the screen and it will be the other way round. If you can't do that, watch it in a mirror. So turn around and have the screen behind you and watch it in a mirror, and then you'll find that we're knitting left-handed by doing that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to push the right hand needle. I'm holding this a bit like a pencil, you can see. We're going to push the right hand needle through that stitch, and it's going behind this needle. So we're just going to push it like this. We're holding these 2 needles now in this hand, the left hand. We're going to take the yarn and we're going to wrap it round this needle, give it a little pull, and then slip the stitch onto that needle. And then we're going to push this needle into that loop and pull. So now we've got 2 stitches on our needle. We're going to push this needle through the center of those 2 loops. We're going to take the yarn round, we're going to pull it through and slip it back onto that needle. Now we've got 3 stitches cast on. So very slowly we're going to push this needle in between these 2 stitches and underneath the left hand needle. We're going to take this yarn round, give it a little pull, hold on to the yarn as you slip that over and back onto that needle. 4 stitches now we've got. We're going to push the needle in, take the yarn round, pull that stitch through and take it on to that needle. Needle in, yarn round, pull it through, slip it back onto that needle. Needle in, yarn round, pull it through, take it back onto that needle. Needle in, yarn round, pull it through, take it back onto that needle. Needle in, yarn round, pull it through, take it back onto that needle. So we're going to carry on and do that until we've got 10 stitches on the left hand needle. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and here's the last one. In between those 2 stitches, yarn round, pull it through, slip it back onto the needle. We've now got 10 stitches cast on to the left hand needle. So a good way to learn how to do this is just keep casting on. The nice thing with knitting is it undoes. All you do is take the stitches off and pull this yarn. It will all completely come undone. So do that until you've got the feel for it, get into the rhythm of it. So now we're going to do, first of all, the knit stitch. So the knit stitch, we're going to take this, the left hand needle, and we're going to push it up through that first stitch. So here's the first stitch here. We're actually going to put it into that stitch. And exactly the same as we did with the cast on, we're going to wrap the yarn round and we're going to pull it through, but rather than put this stitch back onto that needle, we're going to slip the stitch off that needle. So we're going to go into the stitch, yarn round, pull it through, slip that stitch off, into the stitch, yarn round, pull it through, slip that stitch off, into the stitch, yarn round, pull it through, slip the stitch off, in, round, through, 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 off, and finally in, round, through, off. So you'll see now that all these stitches have been transferred onto the right hand needle. So what we're going to do now is swap hands. So again, we've got the stitches that we're working from on the left hand side, and we're working onto an empty needle which is on the right hand side, and we're just going to do exactly the same as we've just done. So we're going to go into that stitch, we're going to tack the yarn round, we're going to pull it through, we're going to slip the stitch off. So in, round, through, off, 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 and finally in, round, through, off. All the stitches have now been transferred onto the right hand needle, and again we're going to swap hands. So this is called plain knit or garter stitch. We're actually producing a pattern now. You're actually knitting, believe it or not. So this row we're going to do exactly the same. In, round, through and off. 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 I'm not holding on to anything ever so tightly. I'm keeping everything quite loose, and you can see you can eventually get into a really nice rhythm. The stitches aren't really tight on the needles, but they're tight enough to stay on if we hold the needle upside down, we're just going to do one more row for you, and you can see quite quickly you'll get into a nice, gentle, steady rhythm. Don't hold on to anything too tightly. Keep everything nice and relaxed. All I'm doing is holding this yarn through these 2 fingers. You'll see people try and teach you to thread this in and out of your fingers or wrap it round your fingers, do all kinds of things. The tension is put on this yarn just by holding it between these 2 fingers. That's all you need to do. And I'm just keeping it there all the time. And this is called garter stitch. So now you're actually knitting something. You could cast on more stitches if you did 30 stitches instead of 10, and just carried on practicing your knitting. Just do it over and over and over again. You'll end up with a really nice scarf. So the purl stitch I'm going to show you next time, and the cast off stitch I'm also going to show you next time. So all we need to do for the moment is practice our cast on and practice our knit stitch. So easy, easy, easy. Don't let anybody convince you that it's hard, because it really isn't. Just relax and enjoy it. It's actually brilliant for stress relief. It's been proven to reduce stress and anxiety levels. It's nice to see now that a lot of men are taking up knitting again. It used to be a thing that was actually a very masculine thing to do, and then we kind of lost that a little bit, and it's nice to see that men are coming back, because for them, again, the stress and anxiety, it's really good relief for. So I hope you've enjoyed that little bit. It would be nice to have a look at some of the things that you're doing if you've never knit before, and start off with just a small little bit and see how you go. And then, like I say, on the next one, cast on 30 stitches and just keep knitting. Count your stitches every now and then to make sure you've still got the right amount of stitches on. If not, then you've either lost one somewhere or you've knit into a stitch twice somewhere. Carry on, don't get stressed by it. It will eventually come. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm going to see you back at the other camera shortly. So I hope that's helped. I hope that's got you started. I hope that you see it really isn't difficult. It's not alchemy. People think, you know, we wave these magic wands around and produce these lovely knitted things. All you need is that. So I'll be showing the purl stitch and the cast off stitch in the next video, and then the video after that I'll be showing how to combine those stitches to make patterns. So anybody who's seen the other videos where I do the yarn reviews and all that kind of stuff, you know that usually at the end of the videos I put the little bits of hate that I've had in. People seem to like those, I don't know why. And I'm not going to do those on these teaching videos. These are just for you, my lovelies, who really just want to learn to knit. There's nothing else involved in these videos at all, and I promise by the time we've done this series of videos, you'll eventually be knitting something that you can wear. So like and subscribe, that will tell you when the other videos are coming. If you want to pop over to my Patreon site and have a look what's going on over there, you see we've got a nice little community that's going on. Let me know how you go. Let me know if I'm teaching you properly and if I'm making it very clear to you. That's a thing that we designers and teachers tend to do. We kind of assume that you already know things. It's very difficult for us to go right back to the beginning. I started to knit when I was 5 years old, believe it or not. We were started to be taught. It's giving my age away, but that was 60 years ago. Oh dear, that can't possibly be true. I'm sure I've got the maths wrong somewhere there, but anyway, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. It's been lovely to have you along. See you soon. Bye bye.